Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jeff Darrington, the Director of Technical Marketing, and here at Graylog with me today, I have Rich Murphy, the Senior Product Manager for Graylog Security. Hey, Rich, glad you could be
Hey,
here.
hey Jeff, thanks for having me.
You bet. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the features in 6.2 and talking about their use and benefits. What we're going to do is we're going to take the features, I've broken them into 5 groups, but we're going to expand those individual features and talk through them. So the first thing is the new input wizard. We'll go through the updated content hub. We'll also go through data routing and data lake preview. We also have events and detection chains. This will also branch off and talk slightly on this and the Sigma rules version 2 in correlation. To move through these features, there's ways in which Graylog is improving the analyst experience and usability of Graylog to speed up the time to value. So, Rich, looking at this slide, we can see here the onboarding of data and its processing. It can lead to faster security analysis of data. Can you expand on this slightly?
Yeah, sure. So basically, with version 6.2, we took a step back, and what we wanted to do was just kind of the whole kind of end to end, getting Graylog stood up and getting meaningful data and meaningful security events and security data out of the product. We basically took the kind of major portions of the product and decided to improve each one in its own way, right? So one of the things that we hear a lot is sometimes I don't know how to get data into Graylog, or I'm not quite sure what to do to get, like, what's the proper way to get data into Graylog. And so we have this new input wizard that helps kind of walk you through what you need to do to get data spun up and processed and indexed. We also have our new content hub, so that additional content provided by our content team, that includes the parsing rules, dashboards, and saved searches. That includes detection rules that we provide. All of that, we now kind of have a simpler process for downloading and installing that data. And that's through the Content Hub and Illuminate. And then finally, after that, we have some additional features to better prioritize and highlight particularly concerning issues that are happening as we see the log data. So potential attack campaigns that you might be suspect to will show up, and we'll get into all of that when we do the demo.
Cool. So the content hub will be more of a living, breathing content hub, whereas things occur, will release additional packs or additional processing based on that throughout the life cycle of the content hub.
Yeah, that's right. We're trying to make it so that if you're familiar with Graylog, the concept of an Illuminate bundle is kind of not here in this new content hub, and we're going straight to the content, so straight to the individual packs. So you'll see some more of that in the demo.
Excellent. The next slide, we talked about some different things for, time to value and time to triage. What is your input here from a security perspective from time to triage, which is a real interesting thing to look at?
Yeah, so we've the last couple of versions, we've looked at different ways to do this. We obviously have focused a bit on the context around some of the event triage you do. We've implemented that asset system that allows you to see, what machines are involved in some of these detections that we see. We've introduced the risk score, which helps to prioritize which events look more concerning than some of the more benign events that you might see. For example, data exfiltration is going to be more important than just like a basic port scan, right? You want to know if something's leaving your environment, if that's legitimate or not. So we introduced the risk score to try and prioritize those types of events, and we've been adding amplification to that risk score depending on a variety of factors, right? So vulnerability scans play into that, right? If with 6.0 and 6.1 we did vulnerability scans, and if we see ports that are open and those ports are being attacked, based on the log messages, we'll elevate that risk score. And then with 6.2, what we've done is we've added this concept of detection chains. So one piece of evidence in a series of events that look like a coordinated attack. And so that will also elevate the risk score here. And then the other kind of important thing we also are really focused on is the data that comes into Graylog, right? Not every log message is as important in the moments as others. So we want to make sure we're routing that data accordingly, and that if you do route the data outside of Graylog, that you could get it back to use in your investigations if needed. And so that's where a little more advanced in terms of investigation, but the data lake preview will allow you to look at logs that are not living in Graylog and pull them into Graylog as you're doing your research and your analysis. And that just improves the workflow overall. And we've made some other quality and life improvements to the workflow with some bulk actions and some other items that we can also show you today.
Excellent. The next slide, demo time.
The fun stuff.
Let you take over here, and I'll let you start with the demo.
Sure, sounds good. And we are going to start with the input setup wizard that we were talking about. So this is our input page where you typically launch whatever listener or input you're looking to grab logs from. But you'll notice there's this new kind of setup input section here. And when I click on that, what happens is, depending on the input type, we will display only the relevant Illuminate content for that type. So for example, this one is a beats. So anything that we can collect via beats, we have the Illuminate packs here, right? If it was a syslog input, we would only show the syslog content packs, but et cetera. So that's what's here. We can pick, this wizard will pick the processing pack, which is this guy. And then if you were to pick one and keep moving, it would then ask you for the spotlight content. So you'll see here it asks for the spotlight content. I can also skip this entirely, right? I don't need to use Illuminate if I wanted to do my own custom processing, so I can skip that. And then we also walk through some best practices, right? So rather than routing everything to our default stream, we recommend you create a separate stream for this input or for this product type, right? And so just a couple of ways to kind of guide through kind of the best practice for ingesting the data. And then the other thing that I want to mention is, after we launch an input like this and set up the wizard, we have this diagnostics page as well. So we go straight to this page when you are done setting up the input and setting up the Illuminate and all that. And if there are any issues, message errors will show up here. You can click through. If there are messages, you'll click through and you'll actually get to the search page, which will show you which errors are involved. And then you could also take a quick preview of the input and what messages are coming into the input, right? So just an easier way for you to maybe troubleshoot if something goes wrong, or if you were expecting logs to come in and they're not coming in. This could maybe help you to get through that. So again, just trying to improve that onboarding process a bit. We have a little bit of a wizard to help you enable your Illuminate content, to create your routing streams, and then to troubleshoot if things go on. So
I can actually say, Rich, this is a feature that I wish we would have had before I joined Graylog, when I was using the open source, using open, trying to parse logs and having errors. This is actually really nice to have in the product now.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime something goes wrong, you want to know why, and so we're trying to put that all in one place for you. So
that's great.
And then speaking of, just again, additionally with onboarding, if we did skip Illuminate or we didn't do Illuminate at the time we set this stuff up, but then we wanted to add later, or maybe new content comes out, we have our improved content hub. And so I mentioned it before, but basically this looks a bit different because there's no bundle. You don't have to manage your bundles anymore and like apply, new bundles get installed. You have to delete the old ones or deactivate and reactivate. That all is going to happen on the back end now. So basically what you'll see here is, when there's a new update, it'll automatically get pulled down. Any new content will actually be highlighted as new on this page, and then be at the top of the list. So you'll be able to apply anything new if you wanted to see it. And then we've also kind of expanded this where you'll see here, this is a processing pack, right? Apache Tomcat. It's required by the Spotlight, not surprisingly, but you can enable this all in kind of one swoop, right? You have this and this, and then you can enable them both. You also, if you go to the Spotlight, you'll see it has a dependency on the processing pack. So it's got both ends of this, where if you were to apply one, it lets you know that the other one might be available. And so, like, for example, if I click on the Spotlight and click enable, it's going to give me a warning like, hey, you have a dependency that's also not enabled. Do you want to do that now? And then when I confirm this, it would apply the packs. Another thing that we've added here, which is very useful, is the filtering, especially for like detection packs. If you are looking for a particular type of a tactic, a MITRE tactic, something like that, you can throw in a filter, and that's going to only show you the packs that are relevant to that type of attack, right? So these content packs have Sigma rules that are associated with that attack tactic. So if rules that would detect credential access, or someone trying to exploit credential access.
And
So
these are tags, are they, Rich, inside the Signal rules? We're basing them off those?
yeah, we're basing these off the tags that are within the Sigma rules. We have some other fields here for the status, whether it's a processing pack or a spotlight pack and things like that. We're going to be expanding these in future versions as well. But right now, you can do pretty much a technique or a tactic within MITRE. That's kind of that big tag where you can filter on some of that relevant content that's outside of processing and spotlight.
Awesome. So if you're first time here to Graylog, processing pack is all of your parsing and things and enrichment we do with the logs, and then your spotlight pack is your dashboards and your different save searches, things that we build for content so you can display your data.
Yeah, that's right. And then another kind of interesting feature, we had introduced the data routing concept a while ago, right? So if I go back to my setup here and we click on DNS server logs. So right now I have what's getting indexed by Graylog and then what's going to the security data lake. And we also have outputs. You could go to third-party stuff, but we'll ignore that for now. The index set right now has a rule on it, which is going to filter out, this is for DNS logs, and we're filtering out the local DNS queries. So this is a kind of a simple rule. It's just like if the domain contains the .local on the end of it, we're going to send that to the data lake, and then everything else is going to be indexed in Graylog. So that's what we have set up. But what ends up happening is I run a search, for example. I'm going to do a source. So here, I'm going to run this search. I don't know if you noticed, but as I was typing it in, this little database icon wiggled, meaning that I have logs potentially in the data lake. And so what I can do is I can head over there and preview those logs. And I can also filter these a little bit. It's a little limited only because of how the data is stored in the data lake, but we do have kind of the most important fields ready to go so that you can do a search on it. And then
this data you said earlier, Rich, this data is data you've chosen not to index in the Graylog on your license. So
that's correct. So
this is data you haven't included in your license, so you can still search it.
Exactly. This is kind of the noise that we don't necessarily want indexed and counting against our license, but could be useful in an investigation, right? And you guys can pick and choose based on those filters, what goes where. Now, this new piece that I'm showing, this is the 6.2 edition, which is now we can actually go into the data lake, run a search on it, and selectively pull back the messages that we want to see. So, for example, I did my search on this desktop here, and you see the relevant messages. And if you want, I can pick and choose, which ones I want to see, and we can retrieve those logs. That'll index them. That'll then bring them into your full investigation. And then when you go to your search query, you'll be able to see those logs and work with those logs.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then the last thing I want to show is our detection chains. So you'll notice when we come to our security events page, we now have this new badge for some of these events that are detection chains. So Illuminate has these new content packs with attack campaigns that we're labeling as these detection chains. And so one detection chain could potentially be 5 or 6 event definitions, right? So 5 or 6 things happen. We see recon, then we see an exploit, like some sort of vulnerability trying to be exploited. Then we see data exfiltration. Then we see someone trying to cover up their tracks, things like that. That would be like a detection chain, those 4 individual events that I just made. So what we're doing here is these rules are marked as detection chains, and you'll actually see how much of the chain has been filled out, right? So here you can see we have about 7 or 8 events. All of them but one have fired, right? So what happens is we increase the risk score as more of the detection chain gets filled in. And so once we've done that, if you want to, you could take the whole chain and treat it as an investigation, right? I can add all of this to either a new or existing investigation. That allows us to get...
Again, Rich, just sorry to interrupt you. Those events that you just highlighted in that detection chain were specific to the asset that you showed in that alert, right? It was Kyle's
So
Hey,
these are,
Pearson.
yeah. So if there is relevant asset information for the event, it will show up here as well, right? And if I go to the asset page, it'll show up there. I can show you that in a second. But yeah, that's right. So any of the additional context for this particular event will be here. I should mention that detection change could span multiple assets, multiple events. So we're only showing what happened in this event, but when you look at the whole chain, it might get more interesting, which is why we have that option to add to an investigation. Then you have all the asset information for all the events showing up in one page, right?
Yeah, it's clear if you saw that one desktop and 8 different users or vice versa, things are going to change quite dramatically very quickly.
That's right. That's right. And so, yeah, so then as we look at some of this, you'll see my events here. I'll actually jump to the security perspective just to give you a full screen view here. But you can see all the events here. I can jump into my timeline and see when the events happened. I can run my AI report if I want to. So now that I've added all the events from the detection chain, the AI report can give me some tailored instructions on what we should do to remediate, what we should do going forward. So all of the existing features we had built in 6.1, they just have a little more value now that we're able to provide some context about, hey, this series of events is part of a detection chain. We should investigate this chain as a whole and see the timeline. Let's see what steps we should take to remediate it. So. And yeah, and the last little bit of that, just kind of continuing on this investigation track, like I mentioned, if we were curious about an asset, like we are here with our favorite desktop here that I've been using, you can see here that the events are associated. I can get to the details from here on the asset, but the new thing we also added was the bulk actions. So if I want to, I can take a look at these all at once. I can replay the searches, and it actually pops up right here. So this is search 1. I can go over to search 2 and search 3. So I can actually look at all the log messages for 3 or 4 events at once if I want to now, rather than having to click into every event and then click replay search, and that goes to a different tab. It's all right here, kind of staying on the same page for you, so that you can get back to here if you need to and do additional work. So again, just a little improvement to make things easier, but we're looking to add these bulk actions elsewhere. We have these tables and can do these things. So
Now, once you've added these, we've talked about this in the past in other webinars and other demos we've done, but once you've added these logs into an investigation, they have now brought themselves into a kind of a cooler perspective where they're outside of the data node, and they stay there as long as you keep those open and utilize them with the analysts, correct?
that's right. I mean, when you add evidence to an investigation, it goes into its own stream, and those events stay so that they don't age out, as you're working on the case. So.
Good.
Yeah, okay. And just one more thing, Jeff, I wanted to mention before we ended, which was the Sigma 2.0 spec. So a while ago, we implemented the Sigma rules set detection capabilities into Graylog so that you could use the Sigma query language, import Sigma rules, bring those in for detections. We've recently improved that to support the 2.0 spec for those rules, which has some formatting changes and things like that. But most importantly, it supports this correlation system within the Sigma language. And so we're now supporting those correlations as well. So you'll be able to do ordered a series of events or some statistical correlations that we already supported in Graylog with our own engine, but now you could go either way, right? You could use the standard event definitions, or you could use the Sigma spec, and we'd convert those into the rule set like we do with our Sigma rules today. So that's just one other way that we increased detection capabilities with support for those correlation rules within Sigma.
Excellent.
Yep. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I have to show for today. So like I said, from start to finish, right, from getting data into the system all the way to troubleshooting security issues that are present. We've tried to do some improvements along the way, each step of the way, and there you go. That's 6.2.
Awesome. That concludes our demo of the core features we introduced here in 6.2. Thanks for joining us today, everyone around the world. And Rich, thank you for walking us through the demo and the new things we're building for here at Graylog for everyone, and much appreciated. And thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.